Check, check, check. Doing a little mic check here. All right. How you doing, everybody? Whoever's here, just kind of getting started. You know, over the course of this stream, people will come in and out. So, yeah, this is just going to be just real loose, just like it was last time. I'm just going to play, and if you have any questions about anything regarding bass and music, then just pop it down in the chat, and I'll try my best to address it. Here we go. We got C. Tatum. Good afternoon. Well, good afternoon to you. Andrew Kallenberg, how you doing? I'm just gonna kind of just play around here, just make sure my levels are all right, which they should be. And whoever's here is here. Last week was just so much fun that I'm like, maybe this should be something a little more regular. It's a great outlet to just connect with more bass players, and also to just play and just show you all what I do, instead of it just being only the social media videos, the Instagram, Facebook videos that I do. Everything you see on those videos is done here in this room, my little office studio here, and it's just this is just, so you can see the rawness of it. Everything that I just kind of do on the spot. I don't necessarily have other than to just play and talk about bass, but I almost treat it like one of those gigs that I used to play, where I would just show up and you don't know what you're gonna play. You just kind of figure it out. Those are really fun. So I'm just gonna play around here. Just enjoy. Put any questions down in the chat, and we'll take it from there. All right. A little warm up, and I'll have a sip of coffee as well. That's a standard that I have never played solo before. It's called Whisper Not. Benny Golson, I believe, yeah. And I've played it many times in jazz ensembles. I mean, so many different ways, but it was kind of cool to just have a go, and especially on a bass that I don't really play that often. Only like when I'm like recording or just at home. So it's really cool to just be able to utilize this very simplified instrument, which as opposed to that bass in the back over there that you see with lots of strings and lots of pickups. Just want to say, if you just joined on, how you doing? Thank you for joining. This is the Bass of Benjamin live stream number 2. And so it's just a bass hang. I'm just here playing and answering questions, just talking all about bass, which is what I just absolutely love, and I assume that you may as well if you're here. Whether you're a bass player or not, you can still love the bass. A few little questions here. Are those rounds or flats, and thoughts on tape wounds? So on these are flat wounds. These are the DR Legends, as they're called. They're the DR flat wound strings, and there's only one flat wound string that DR do, and that's the Legends. So that's what I have on here. Yeah, I mean, they feel great. They sound great, have a nice tension to them. I haven't put round wounds on this bass because this bass in particular is to cater towards that 60s P bass sound, flat wounds, dark tone, that kind of vibe. That's what this is. I do have another P bass that is a PJ configuration, and that has round wounds on it. That has the DR fat beams on there. And then my thoughts on tape wounds. I think tape wounds are very cool. I actually, at one point, before I was using DR strings, you probably guessed, I'm endorsed with DR. They just make incredible strings that I just love. But before that, I actually did try some tape wounds on this bass, and they were by Roto Sound. And they were cool. Very thick gauge of string. But I think it's just, what you're going for, what is the type of sound that you're going for. That's really what it comes down to with strings. How do you want your bass to sound? What do you want them to feel like as well? So that's what my thoughts. I think they all have a purpose, and you can they're all usable in some capacity. So yeah, I think tape wounds are pretty hip. It'd be cool if DR put out some tape wounds. I'd totally try those out. That'd be pretty cool. How do you get better at soloing? Asks Quickie Curls. Well, other than practice, yeah, I mean transcribing soloists. Obviously, yeah, having a good understanding of theory. So the modes, scales, arpeggios, extensions, and especially obviously chords. That has to do with arpeggios. But just knowing how to utilize extensions, and also with that saying is how to create a story with the notes that you're using. And I always tell this to my students who are studying with me, to learn improvisation or like soloing over changes, or even bass players who know how to solo but they want to be a little more expressive in their soloing. Is now this is my opinion, and from what I've essentially like trial and error throughout my career in the soloing realm, is that I felt that I became a better soloist when I was seeing how it was done by people that have influenced me. So obviously, yes, transcribing solos like I mentioned, but learning certain phrases and, dare I say it, licks as well. I think that's really important to know. You probably hear some people saying, don't learn licks, don't learn phrases, but you kind of have to, because it's part of the vocabulary. And it actually, if you're just sitting in your practice room, just going, sure, you're playing an arpeggio right there, but how do we use it in a musical way? That's the thing. And so you have to hear how great improvisers and soloists have used something like that. So if I'm taking something like what I was just doing there, which is I'm playing a C major 7 sharp 11 arpeggio, right? How do I use it in a musical way that's expressive, instead of it just sounding like I'm just playing an arpeggio? So I'll put a drum loop on and I'll just kind of show you over that. This is how I would practice doing something musical in a musical way. So I'm using all the notes in C major 7 sharp 11. So in order to do that though, but you have to see how people do it, right? That's how you get an idea. Just the same way when we're kids, we're learning how to talk. We're learning words that we're hearing from our parents, from siblings, from anybody, stuff that we hear on the television, right? We might not necessarily know exactly what is being said, but we're learning vocabulary. And then when we do, obviously, you put things together when you're using the alphabet, and when you are learning how to spell words, then you're learning how to use words in a sentence, and then you're learning how to communicate. It's the same thing here with soloing. I mean, it's a language, right? And you got to pick up vocabulary. It's the same way when we're learning how to talk about something specific. We're going to watch, TED Talks or lectures or listen to podcasts or read books to gain an understanding of more vocabulary so that we feel confident about what we're doing. It's the same thing here with soloing, playing over chord changes. Is that, yes, you have to have an understanding of the basics of it, but then also that way you can have the confidence and the freedom to really then explore naturally and with emotions. That's the way I like to think of getting better at soloing, to kind of bring it all the way back. Is that instead of, just being stuck in your practice room, just running scales, which is important, obviously, and it's good to be able to run that up and down the neck and on the instrument and to know the sounds. But you also need to know how to use it, how to use it naturally. It would be the equivalent of you learn all these very fancy words and flash words, and you're just stringing random words together, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't tell a story. It just doesn't do anything for anyone. It has no substance, right? So that's the same thing when playing music, is that it has to connect, it has to tell a story. So yeah, I hope that that helps. If you want to know more about, this is the thing, and I don't mind putting this plug in here because this is Bass with Benjamin, and this is what I do with my students who do my coaching programs. Is that I have students who are studying with me specifically to get better at soloing, improvisation, and so these are the things that we go through, as well as we look at the influences that they're really into and learn the vocabulary so that they can gain that understanding so that they can apply that. So if that's something that you want to do with me one-on-one, you can let me know. You can go to basswithbenjamin.com and or you can just send a message to me through DMs or whatever if you're interested in learning about bass coaching. So what other stuff do we have here? What songs or solos do you feel like you learned the most from transcribing? Yeah, you know what? And let me just also mention one thing about, thank you, I had a little cue card reminder. Let's not forget, when we're talking about improvisation and soloing, obviously I just mentioned the language, and we want to also talk about the feeling as well. So how you might be feeling as you're playing, as just what's going on in the day. So that all ties in to it, to being, a great storyteller is also channeling how you're feeling, your emotions. This is art at the end of the day, It's just not all about technique and all the fancy licks that you can do. Going back to what I said, Nick P asked, what songs or solos do you feel like you learned the most from transcribing? Definitely for me, I learned the most, especially earlier on, Stanley Clarke. Obviously from school days, the records, even the Return to Forever stuff, like No Mystery. A lot of Stanley Clarke, that was like who I was just listening to the most, especially getting into using pentatonics over chord changes, but just kind of getting that sound and that type of phrasing. I would say definitely the great bass soloist. So Stanley, I would say for me, there's definitely some of his best solos I really love are from his album from the late 80s called If This Bass Could Only Talk. which is an incredible album. And I'll tell you, there's a specific song called Stories to Tell, where it has these really complicated changes, and it's really cool to hear Stanley just navigate these changes. That he just takes an incredible solo. So I recommend checking out Stories to Tell. This was also the first time that I ever heard Alan Holdsworth. All right. So Stanley did this incredible solo, and then Alan does this ridiculous solo, and I was like, who is that? And then that's where the whole Alan Holdsworth thing started for me. Jarko, of course. All right. Havona. That definitely was a huge one for me. Or Continuum, Port of Entry, just some amazing. Of course, Donna Lee. I mean, I could go on and on about that. John Patitucci. These are the guys who really influenced my soloing. Yeah, John Patitucci for sure. Especially his earlier albums, the stuff with Electric Band. Tunes like Growing, Change of Season, what's it? Even something, like Joab. Just real, the classic, Patitucci, kind of stuff. What's it? Searching, Finding, all of that. So if you want to check out what I was listening to back then, I definitely recommend. I definitely recommend those three guys. Jimmy Haslip was another cat. All right, his bass solo on "Man Facing North" from the Yellow Jackets, "Like a River." That was actually the deciding factor of me to playing the 6-string bass. That was the moment I realized, okay, I want to play 6-string bass. Just incredible, beautiful solo. Just so melodic, lyrical, and just really nice phrasing. That's one of my favorite Jimmy Haslip solos. Is on that record. I mean, that whole record is incredible. Another great bass solo he does is a live one, and it's from Live Wires. It's a tune called what's a tune? I think it's called Downtown. Yeah, it's a Russell Ferrante tune. It's like an up-tempo swing. That one, really cool. Somebody's asking Alfonso. So definitely Alfonso, and that was definitely later on as I got more into Weather Report, and definitely so. Definitely Alfonso. A little more later in my teenage years. Which was really cool, and especially with Carbon Duke, that Live in Europe record is just absolutely incredible. And just hearing his flexibility on fretless and electric, the fretted, is just ridiculous, and you could hear that how him, Jarko, and Stanley, especially in that era, just had. There are these 3 kids coming up who the same age, and were just changing the way that the bass guitar or bass playing is. Just in terms of the approach to how it was being used in music, the tones, even the basses themselves. I mean, obviously, Jarko, played the traditional Fender jazz bass, but I mean, being fretless. And with the acoustic 360s, Stanley obviously started with the being an upright guy first, then going to the I think he played a Gibson bass, and then a Rickenbacker, and then to the alembics. So that's the other thing. Yeah, he really got his sound when he was playing the alembics. Alfonso had this like modified P bass. That seems to be what like some bass players were doing in the 70s, where they were just adding pickups or whatever, doing all kinds of modifications to their basses, taking the frets out, you know. But Alfonso had this also had this really cool fretless bass that you've heard a lot, made by Charles Lobu, which was very short-lived. I think he was just like a custom luthier, and I think he might have been in New York. And Alfonso still has that bass to this day, and he still uses it. I've played it many times. It's incredible. I mean, it's got a lot of mojo. It's been played in. He's done some modifications to it over the years, but that bass, it's got such a huge sound. And this is a bass that he used on like Elegant People. He used on like the stuff with Flora Purim. So, you know, Open Your Eyes, You Can Fly. Played it on Black Markets. I mean, stuff with Cobham Duke. Quincy Jones, like, I mean, Phil Collins, like, it's incredible. So yes, definitely Alfonso for sure, and definitely when I was studying with him as well, I was listening to a lot of Alfonso, and he just had his birthday. He turned 74 the other day, so 3 days ago. So happy birthday, Mr. Alfonso. Somebody else was asking, that's a good list. Oh, thank you. How do you keep distractions out of your practice routine? Oh, it's hard. You know, it's hard. But I think I would recommend, obviously, you've probably heard, keep your phone away from you. I think that's going to be the biggest distraction. And if you do have, if you live with people, or if you do have a family, obviously, if you have kids, they're going to need things. But I think communication is definitely key, where with your partner, just like hey, I'm going to practice or just sort out how a schedule that works for you and your partner, or whoever, might distract you. Like, I need 30 minutes here. Where can we put that in during the day to practice, where I'm just not disturbed? Because you can treat it, it's work, but something where you can concentrate and you just have that time for yourself. I'm gonna do some more playing. Hey Miles, good to see you, bro. Miles is an upcoming young bassist out of New York who's been studying with me. Somebody is asking, how inspired are you by Thundercats? Surprisingly, not very, even though I definitely enjoy what he does and his music. Definitely his first album. That I really liked his first album, and his approach. But I haven't really listened to a lot of Thundercats music. But I think it's really cool that, he's someone that has been, pushing six-string bass, chordal playing, lead playing in the mainstream. I've played a lot with his dad, Ron Bruner Sr., and of course I've played a lot with Junior as well. But I've played a lot with Senior in his band called Strange Jazz Universe. So, Senior is an incredible drummer, and so I could see where his kids definitely get a lot of their musical talent, and their mother is a excellent flute player as well. So it's a very musical family. But I'd say I've met Thundercat maybe once or twice in the past, but I've definitely been more around Senior and Junior. So yeah, I'm gonna play some more. I might just play with a drum loop. I'm gonna stay on the P bass here. And by the way, this is my 1974 P bass. by Ibanez. It's a copy. And yeah, I'm just going to play. I might actually just play along to this drum loop. I might play a standard again because the standards were kind of fun. Let's see what I can do with Stella by Starlight. How y'all doing? So if you're just joining on here, thank you. The Bass with Benjamin live stream. And I'm just playing and answering questions. And if you have any questions, you can just put it down in the chat and I'll do my best to address it. So, yeah. Okay, something like that, right? With Stella by Starlight. Got some questions here. Andrew Kallenberger, what's up, bro? He's asking, would love to hear how you would approach a solo on a song like Low Level, High Stakes by Alan Holdsworth. Oh, God. Now you really put me on the spot. First of all, I'll just say, yes, I love that song. I've never played it before, so I don't really know the changes, but maybe we could use another Alan Holdsworth song. Maybe use another Alan Holdsworth song as an example. Let's say Looking Glass, and I'll change over to the 6-string as well. I think I've had enough 4-string P. Not enough strings, man. So while I'm changing over, I'll answer another question. Miles is asking, where'd you get that shoulder pad for the bass strap? So this shoulder pad right here is actually made by a New Zealand company, along with the strap called Atmos New Zealand. And these are handmade vintage style straps. They're just absolutely beautiful. I love them. You should definitely check out Atmos straps. He ships worldwide as well, but he makes them down in the South Island of New Zealand, in Christchurch. And this shoulder pad in particular, he reached out to me and sent me some prototypes, and I gave him some feedback on, maybe you could just make it a little wider here or do the softer material or something. So I kind of helped him, until he got it, right. And so you can buy this strap pad. You can put it on just about any strap that is of this style. It's super comfy. It really is. So if you buy one of these, just know that I was thinking about it for musicians like myself in mind. That it's something where if you have a heavy instrument, it will help it'll help the strap not dig into your shoulder. It actually makes it comfortable. And I've tested it with my heavy basses when we were doing just when he sent me the prototypes. So it's definitely tried and tested. What year is this Ibanez? The logo doesn't look like anything they sell nowadays. No, it does not. This is a vintage Ibanez. You probably missed it when I talked a bit about it. It's a 1974 Ibanez lawsuit. It's a straight copy of, obviously, a Fender, but it's a vintage bass. It was made in Japan in 1974, and it's absolutely incredible. I absolutely love it. I'm going to switch to my 6-string. I'm going to pull out my my main axe here. Get the strap. So this is Blondie, who a lot of you have seen me play. This is my main bass. I've used this bass has been all over the world with me. Is on lots of recordings. I've had this bass for 11 years now, and it's definitely one of the greatest instruments that I've ever played, ever owned. One of the greatest instruments that Ibanez ever produced. It was very short-lived, and I did do a video about the Grooveline basses, and you can check that out on my YouTube channel as well. But the 6 strings are very rare these days. There wasn't a lot of them made. So if you do manage to find one, hold on to it. All right, so back to our Alan Holdsworth song. So obviously I don't know how to play low-level, high stakes, but I know that one has an incredible, ridiculous solo by Schoolie Severson, who's just wow. I'm lost for words when I talk about him. He plays just a beautiful solo on that. But let's look at Looking Glass. So what I'll do, go to an empty track on my looper because I'll lay down some chords. I'll play the chords first, and then we talk about which chords I'm playing. Make sure I'm in tune. That's something that a lot of people forget to do, and I'll just talk about bass players, is they forget to tune up. So I see a lot of videos, or when I see people playing or whatever, and I'm like, man, they're playing some great stuff. Too bad their bass was not in tune. Too bad they didn't tune it. So always make sure you tune your bass, especially if you're going to be playing chords. It needs to be in tune. I'll put a little vibrato in there. There we go. All right, so here's the solo changes for Looking Glass by Alan Holdsworth. So here we go. Really nice, lush chords. So I'll just stop that. It won't delete it. It'll start again. So this is the chords that I'm playing. All right. So first chord, as it goes through the loop, I'll tell you the chords. All right. So we've got a G major 7 with an A, and we have a G major 7, B sus, A flat sus, F sharp sus, E flat minor 11, C sharp 7 sharp 9, A sus, G major 7, A flat minor 11, E flat minor 11, C sharp minor 11, C major 7, A flat major 7, E flat with a G, E flat major 7, D flat major 7, B flat sus, F major 7, G flat major 7, A flat 7, and then back to the top. Probably missed a chord, but that's what it is. And so I don't think about, okay, what scales am I going to play over this? I'm thinking about essentially the tones that fit in each chord, right? And it took me a while to get this when I first had to learn it, because they're not easy changes. They modulate a lot. They're not like your typical 2-5-1 changes. So trying to come up with something melodic and starting off simple. So trying to come up with like motifs and ideas, and I kind of hint more maybe on the arpeggios of some of the chords. So here I would play a G major 7. Maybe some pentatonics, a little Stanley in there. And so forth. Yeah, I that's something that I could just go on and on, just shedding on there, and I did. real quick funny story about that tune in particular. So it was a year after Alan had passed away. Alan passed in 2017, and I got asked to play at a memorial concert that was happening like a year later. It was at Alva's showroom in San Pedro in California, and I learned all the tunes except for one that I forgot because I was at the time was it my wife was pregnant, and our daughter could be born like any moment, so like it was definitely in that headspace. And when I forgot to learn Looking Glass, I was like, oh no. So I had to go into my car and listen to it. There was like 2 hours or something before the show started, and thankfully I wasn't playing on the whole show. There were actually other bass players that were featured on the show as well, that had played with Alan. So there's Ernest Tibbs, Anthony Crawford, Tony Newton as well. Tony from the Tony Williams Lifetime that Alan was in the later 70s. So that was a moment there where, okay, those guys are doing their sound check. I have time to learn this tune. And it's not an easy tune to learn, but I did it and was able to pull it off. And the video that you see on YouTube of me playing it with Steve Hunt and Joel Taylor, that is the performance there of where 2 hours before that I just learnt it in my car. So not doing that again. Always read the email first. Make sure you've learnt it all. Man, it's an hour has like gone by so quickly. I'm gonna play a little more, and if you have any more questions, you can just pop them down. And I had James. Oh, that's Jimmy Phillips. Yeah, that's right, man. I remember. Yes, I was eating a sandwich, and yeah, you and Darren walked by, and you saw me in my car, like learning this tune. I remember that. Oh man, so funny. Let's see. I'm gonna maybe do some. Let's see. I was able to actually load up some drum loops into my looper here. It actually worked out. What happened last time, it didn't work except for one. The bit rate was too high, so that's why. Let's see. I know what I'll play. Let's see. Does this work? Yeah, let's do something like that. All right. Let's see what we got. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining on. I think that's it for today. If you really enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, comment, or anything on my channel, because this actually helps my channel get into the feeds. It helps the algorithm, and I've been making more of an effort with my YouTube channel this year, which has been really cool. If you also just like what I do, you like my content, you like some of the insights and educational aspects of bass playing that I have to offer, you can check out my courses, and also any information on my coaching programs at basswithbenjamin.com. You can also just send me a message as well, and I'll get back to you. But thank you so much for jumping on here with me. It was such a cool hang. And I think depending on my schedule next week, I think we'll do this again next week. I plan on just kind of making this a weekly thing whenever I can, when my schedule allows for. But this is just such a really cool outlet to connect with you all, and just play and just see what happens. That's what I'm all about. That's why I love playing improvisational music, because you just get to see what happens. So anyway, thank you all for joining on. Again, this was number 2 of the Bass with Benjamin live stream, and hopefully next week we'll have number 3. But anyway, you be safe, take care out there, all right? Play some good bass lines, some tasty solos. Anything I can do to help you with your bass playing, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to help you out. And yeah, let's just keep the world full of great bass players and bass music. So thank you all. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of your week. All right. And I'll see you soon. All right. Peace.